Film Gods Familia. It's your host, Isusko. What a chat. I've just jumped off with Elian, who, honestly, you're going to have such a great time listening. But welcome to another episode. We're keeping it consistent, one a month. My dream would be to be doing one a week and turning this into some sort of job that can get more voices out, can get more stories out. And I think where we're at industry-wise, Facebook groups, you know, WhatsApp groups, I've been seeing the kind of hashtag survive to 25. And I think that kind of sums up the year so far, survival. Now, I know in manifestation terms, you know, law of vibration, all the rest of it, using those kind of words and language supposedly attracts it. But I think there comes a nice reality, an understanding of being able to just say, do you know what, I was drowning and not waving, and it has been a tough year. And I know there are a lot of people out there that have been talking to me that it has been one of the toughest 12-18 months of their career, and survive to 25 felt right. You know, I feel like the abundance of post-COVID years was a little bit inflated. And as Steve Davies from the APA said back in the April, I think, of 2020, said 2/3 of UK commercials shoot abroad. Before COVID, we only ever shot 1/3 of all of the commercials that came through the UK production companies, because they go off to, you know, Spain for the weather, Sweden for the mountainous drives, whatever. And he said, we're going to have a real big explosion of work. And we did. And a load of people came in, a load of people stepped up, and we started to be able to fly away and shoot abroad. The strikes happened. So there's been a reset. And I hope everyone that's listening here in the UK, I'm hoping that you are surviving to 25. And if, you know, everyone that's listened across the globe, it still baffles me how everyone are like, you know, top 10s in Japan and Germany and Canada and South Africa and all of the worldwide film crew. Please hit me up on the Instagrams, the Film Gods podcast, because I'd love to hear your stories, and I'd love to hear how the industry is for you in all corners of the globe. Today's ep, I think, comes at a really lovely time, and it's, you know, the universe has its way of working its ways. I had someone else lined up to record. They had some issues on set and at work, and they couldn't do it. And so I was asked to be a judge at the Graddies, which Jane Fries and Trix Worrell, 2 past episode film godders. They set up the Graddies for graduation films to have a student film festival specifically for graduation films, and they did it because COVID had locked everyone down, and these students would have spent 3 years leading to this point and not having anywhere to show their film. So massive shout out to those 2 people for the amazing thing that they've done with the Graddies. Went to Westfield, View, Shepherd's Bush, so shout out the View for allowing them to use their space. And some of these films were phenomenal. We only got to see a snippet of the top 10, but hundreds got sent in, and the 10 that I got sent to judge on, such high caliber from some of them that, you know, the future of the film industry in their hands feels safe. I just feel like the custodian, or we should be the custodians of that film industry, to make sure that we're handing them something to pass on. Like our generation, this baton that we have, and we're doing so well to hold on to it. We just need to keep that belief that making films and being creative and giving the world something to entertain them is still worth making. And I know that money and budgets and everything's got tight, and everything's got to make its money back. We got into this industry because we love doing what we do, and that I think is what this episode is going to give you. If you are a 20, 30, 40-year experienced human being in the film industry and are having a bit of a wobble that, did you make the right life choices? This young man, I guarantee you, is you when you first started. Guarantee you. The passion, the enthusiasm. I think hearing his story, just come out of uni, he's just won the Graddies. He won an award at another festival. I can't remember the exact name. You're going to hear him and you're going to go, I did that. I borrowed a mate's camera. I shot a film and my parent was in it, or my friends were in it. And I think it's going to be a really useful experience of just having that memory of what it was to feel like when you first started. Obviously, this is a podcast for people to get their voice out and to have an opinion on things and to get their stories out. But also for the next generation, it's a chance for them to showcase themselves. So if you listen to this and you love what he's saying, how he's saying it, reach out to him, let him know, give him the chance, give this man the chance that you were given when you were his age. Be that person back, reciprocate the karma wheel, and keep the best people in the industry and keep the best creative talent moving forward, and we'll be fine. In 10, 20, 30, 100, 7 generations down the line, the British film industry will still be one of the best, with the best technicians making the best stories, with the best techniques and the best, just enjoying and loving what we do, and it not all being about the paycheck. So ladies and gents, that's enough from me. It's like a 10-minute monologue. If you're still listening from now, big up, massive love, and let's get straight into the app.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So hello. So we'll get straight into it. What is your name, and what uni did you go to, and what course did you do?
Hello. My name is Elian Beaumont. I went to Leeds Trinity University and I studied film.
Amazing. So, I mean, we're kind of, it's a film podcast, and I just want to get, for you, what is it that made getting a film degree or choosing to work in film, why, and then what does it mean to you to have got to where you are now?
I think the why is because that love for film has just always been there. It was always the escape. It was always something that I was aspiring to, work within and work for. But I'd never found the right fit. In my hometown of Grimsby, there was never really courses that I felt like I was, satisfied with, or I had I didn't really feel like I had the freedom to make, or create. It was quite frustrating at the time, to be honest. And I decided, right, okay, well, I'm just going to try and make films on my own, borrow cameras and borrow laptops and just, wing it sort of thing. And I'd finally found the opportunity to move up to Leeds. So it's moving out of my hometown, moving to a city. Great. Let's see what film sets I can work with. We're starting to get some momentum. And then COVID hits, we go into lockdown, and it's like, right, okay, let's reset. What do we, as we all did. And I think it was there that I realized that, actually, just because you haven't got on with some of the courses in your hometown, it doesn't mean that you should be feeling, negatively towards the education sector in general. And that's when we started to look at some courses, and I'd already made the move to Leeds, so let's look at the different courses here. And Leeds Trinity University, and I'm always so grateful to them. They gave me the opportunity to study with them when I didn't have any A levels. They gave me this original foundation year to sort of prove myself, and then that qualified me to then do the course. I will forever be grateful to them. But it was a fantastic fit because not only have they accepted me on so little, but also they have a fantastic sort of media department. You know, all this fantastic kit. I mean, straight away when the Banshees of Inisherin came out, and I was just thinking, oh wow, what a beautiful film. And then you find out that the exact same camera that was shot on your university has, and you're like, oh, you know what I mean? There's something there.
Yeah,
You think,
okay.
okay, obviously it's a lot of work to make something like that, but you know, on the ground level, I'm touching the same camera. You know, I've got to be able to produce something that looks good, and so yeah. So then I began studying my proper degree, and away I went making films.
Wow. There was no A levels, but there was a passion. There was a clear passion for film. How did you convince them? How did you show them this passion for film? Did you show them films that you'd made? Did you won anything? Was there like a look educationally, sitting down and trying to remember the periodic table isn't for me, but look at what I've got, or how did you manage to convince them?
Um, no, you're spot on. That's exactly what it was. It was a case of writing up a sort of proposal, a sort of plea that I tried to make as impassioned as possible. But then I was also able to attach some of the stuff that I'd done. So I'd made a 40-minute short with my friends, again, in my hometown, that was a little bit about, anxiety and isolation. And it somehow I found a way to get on the local radio and promote the film and be like, oh, it's coming
Wow.
out tonight, and all this sort of stuff. So it was like, I was sort of a fish out of water in that regard. But, I didn't realize at the time, but that's something for the CV. Great. You've made a film and you've got on the radio because of it. So it was some sort of, official box that was ticked that was like, oh, okay. There's clearly, he's worked hard in his own regard. So let's give him a shot, and they did.
Wow.
Thank goodness. Yeah,
I mean, that's the kind of energy and passion and love that I'm gonna probably say 99% of the people listening to this that are experienced film crew started off with.
yeah.
That's the energy that you're putting into, you didn't get paid for that.
No.
No, you're not sending an invoice into yourself. Hello, yes, I spent, all night editing this and it's triple time from like you didn't do it for the money.
No.
You did it because you love what you do. And I think that's the beauty of, and I think there's not many industries like ours because you have graduated, you are now part of the British film industry, whether you're making whatever you make and whether you're getting paid for it or not, you are now part of us. You are
Yeah.
in this world. There aren't many industries that people would happily do it as a hobby and love to do it and not get paid and
Yeah.
start off and not get paid and just doing it because they're honing their craft and they're trying to find their voice. So I guess on that note, what did then going to a place like Leeds, how did you see what was it, a 3 year, I assume?
Yeah.
3 year course?
3 year. Yeah.
So that first film to the graduation film that I saw on Friday, we're recording this Sunday, the 20th of October, and we'll touch base on where we met on Friday. But how did you see yourself grow, or did you grow, or have you grown through those 3 years when you were at uni?
Oh my goodness me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I referenced the film that I'd shot in my hometown, I mean, I watched that back now, and when you watch the first stuff you make, you're like, you
Yeah,
just you can't even
it's
watch it.
awful, isn't it? No, it's
Yeah, it
awful.
is. It is.
Yeah, yeah. But at the
So
time when you're looking at it, you're going, fuck, I
this is
love this.
it.
This is amazing. Look at this. Look at
This is my masterpiece.
this is
Yeah, no, it's yeah, and I think also because when I was making those films, I was 17, 18. And then when I first started the university course, I was 20. I'm not at the peak level of, maturity or awareness now, but I think, yeah, I mean, growing as a filmmaker, growing as a person, I'm able to watch something now and critique it, as you make it and as you're editing it. Whereas back then, it's like this is it. This is the one. So I think
Hello, BAFTA. Yes, I've made the short. Just give me the award now, guys.
yeah. Stop what you're doing. Watch this film. It's going to change your life. Um, so yeah. So I think again, when coming out of lockdown, starting the course, I just wanted to make, and I think that the first film that I made as part of the course, I think it was 15 minutes, I believe, and yeah, it again, I watch it now and it's just I don't like it at all. But it got me with the kit, and that's the way to learn for me anyway. I mean, practically just making and sort of honing in on that craft or skill. But I think the problem for me was that I was making these films for the course, for the assignments, and it didn't feel like enough, because when it's sort of hard to describe, but obviously when you're submitting a piece of work, it has to meet a certain amount of guidelines. Like sometimes it was 5 minutes, sometimes it was 10 minutes, and you would discuss with the tutor what sort of topics it could be, and because a lot of the time when people make student films, it's like it's like the mafia, and do you know what I mean? It's really like extreme, and I think they taught us to just try to be as small as possible, not in the sense of like your ideas, but in terms of like just let's just start really simply and just sort of grow from there. And I think I realized when I started the second year that I'm allowed to use the kit outside of term time. Why am I not? And that's what I started to do over the summer periods when no one else was using it, was make my own films, basically, which, I could make anything I wanted. And the technicians at Leeds Trinity are so passionate that they're taking time out of, their schedule to watch your stuff and go, oh my goodness, yeah, and go through. I mean, the amount of hours that I've spent with some of the technicians just in a room, opening the curtain, looking at the camera, shutting the curtain. Do you know what I mean? Turning on a light, how does that affect that? Learning all the basics of cinematography and lighting and sound. It sort of blew my mind in a way, because it was like, oh my goodness me, this is not within the course. This is what university is about. It's exactly what you put into it. So I feel like my energy was sort of, picked back up then. And that's what I've just sort of done ever since, is just make these short films in my own time, which then allowed me the freedom to, when I did my final piece, my dissertation, to sort of prove myself a little bit. And they allowed me to, make something that, the content is a little heavy, and a little bit risky, because it's very dark in tone, and unfortunately the content is quite, unfortunately quite topical and relevant. And I remember one of my lecturers saying, are you absolutely sure you want to make a film about this? Because you're sort of bridging a line where you could really seem insensitive, or it could be really almost like wacky, because we're talking about a man who refuses to save his loved one, who's being quite brutally attacked, yes. and it's very serious. So but I feel like because I'd made these short films in my own time, and I'd really matured as a filmmaker, and I'd had every bit of assistance possible, I felt like, now I feel like I'm ready to really make this piece. And I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely should be. So listeners, just so there's some context, we met on Friday at the Graddies, which is
Yes.
the Student Film Awards, and I mean there was hundreds and hundreds of films that got put in, and I was very luckily, and I was very honored to be asked to be one of the pre-judges, and that's where we met. And the film that you're talking about is the film that you put in, and just talk us through that Friday then. So what is the Graddies, and what happened, and did you win?
Well, yeah, I won.
Yeah.
First of all, yes, very, very successful with this
Woo!
beautiful award. Yeah.
Beautiful award. So what's it, a Bolex?
Yeah, so it's a real film camera.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it is a Molex. And they gave me some film and some lenses as well. So I'm looking forward to
Wow.
making something with that. But yeah, no, when I'd made this graduation film, my lecturer, Robbie McAllister, said straight away, the Graddies, you've got to submit. This is the film festival. He told me about some other student ones and especially some local ones. But in terms of like, this is something where the university can sort of, back you on it and you're going to be representing the uni. And it's so specifically attached to the course because this is your graduation film. This is what the 3 years, if you think about it, sort of has led to really this piece of work. And so especially because I think some of the other people on my course and at the university chose to do an actual dissertation rather than a physical film or project. It was especially like, right, we'd really like you to submit, please.
So was there other films that were up for it at your uni, or did they just come to you specifically and say, look, this is a brilliant piece of work and we'd like you to submit it on the behalf of the uni?
Well, I think because when I'd made a film over summer in second year called Strangers, and I had it's about 5 minutes long, and I'd secretly submitted this to a load of festivals, and one of them being the Royal Television Society Student Awards, and they had actually contacted the uni and said, I think one of your students has submitted. Normally, you're doing this. What's happening here? And they were like, didn't even know he submitted. Didn't even know who is this guy. Is he a student?
Absolutely brilliant.
So then the department sort of picked me up and was like, have you been making stuff and submitting it? And I was like, I have, yeah. And they were like, great. And they took me out and I won a special craft award for cinematography.
Oh, wow.
And again, it was like one of these things of like represent the uni. The whole department came with me and we all got dressed up and it was like this really lovely thing. And I think ever since that point, going into final year, they really championed me, really, because it was sort of, unfortunately, this rare thing where they've got all this kit and no one's really taken advantage of it outside of the course.
Yes.
And especially having some success. So ever since that point, they've really, really supported me in every single way. So yes, first of all, I was the only one to do a physical project for the dissertation for the graduation piece. But second of all, they've already pushed me to, submit into these places. So of course they said, we'd really like you to submit to the Graddies, because this is one of those festivals where it's like, this is the one, it's attached to the course. This is the piece. And let's see how you do. And I remember submitting on the actual submission day because Robbie was like, oh yeah, I just want to remind you about the Graddies. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. I looked online, submissions today. You know what I mean? It was a quick jump, right, go. So I submitted with a few hours to spare. And thank goodness that I did, because I got an email a couple of months later saying that you're in the top 10, the finalists of the drama category. And I remember telling my course leaders, and they were absolutely over the moon. Telling my parents, they were saying, right, we're going to make a day of it then, planning our train tickets already. And I contacted the lead actor. Also contacted Anya, who was also another actor in the film, and Kirk, who did the score. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it. But I was really so proud to have my parents with me and Simon, the lead actor, with me. And it was just, it was just an absolute whirlwind, to be honest. I mean, we were just so pleased that we knew we were guaranteed a clip, like a minute clip on the big screen. And it was like so worth traveling for, because I'd never seen any of my work on a screen as big as that, a sound system as good as that. So that was like the incentive. And then as it went on, it was like, okay, we're in the top 3. We get to see the film in full. Oh my goodness me. And then that was like oh, wow. And then, oh, you've won. It was like one thing after another. And then obviously I met you, and it's like, should an interview. Do you want to be on my podcast? I'm like, yes. It was just, yeah, it was an incredible day. And I'm just really, really grateful to everyone involved and so on. And it was, yeah, amazing.
I mean, look, let's just be honest. Anyone that's listening here now, they can very easily hear that you have the fire in your belly, that you have the passion, that you are, as you said, going above and beyond the course because you love what you do, because you're enjoying the process of making film. You're doing it. It's a passion.
Yeah.
It's a hobby. It's something that you would probably stay up all night writing a script, or stay up all night just finishing off an edit, or all night on a night shoot. It wouldn't feel like work. And I think that is very clear coming through with how you got into the course with no A levels, but going out and making your own film. You were already a filmmaker before you went on the film course. And some people go on film, and I had it when I was at uni. Some people go to the film course because it's like, well, it's a degree, it's 3 years, and then I'll come out and I'll go and become an investment banker, or go and work in wherever, or blah 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 blah. And those 3 years are just a time to get pissed, to get drunk, and to just get a bit of paper at the end.
Yeah.
But your journey is different. And that's why you're here. That's why you won the Graddies. And that's why I have if you carry on with the same enthusiasm and passion that you have had up to this point, that in 10 years' time, I'm going to be watching something, or maybe 20 years' time. Let's not put the pressure on you. But in some point in the future, as an old man, and I'm bald with gray, no hair, I'm going to be like that to my son. I interviewed that boy when he won the Graddies. That's what I'm feeling, and that's what I'm getting. And what I'd love to do now for like the second part of the app is just have a chat about what you're excited about getting into. What is it that you want to, what role do you want to go into? What department do you want to go into? What format do you want to go into? What's now the dream? What's the next 5-10 years looking like? And actually, with the passion, the yin and yang of it all, the duality, what is it that maybe scares you most, and what are your main concerns? So let's just spend a little bit of time honing that and chiseling that little question out.
Well, I think first of all, the main role that I want to proceed down is absolutely directing. I mean, if I could write my own material and then direct that, I mean, that would be absolutely the dream. I think at the absolute core of it, I'm just so, I mean, as you said before, yeah, I've got that fire, and I'm absolutely so passionate. And the conversations about film and the conversations about filmmaking is absolutely what I love to do. So the dream would be, having a conversation with, a cinematographer about how we want to shoot the film, and an editor about how we want to edit it, and actors about how we want to perform the scene. That's the dream, being on set and, talking to the actor about, how the character would feel in this situation, and looking at the playback and see that look there. That was fun. You know what I mean? All of that, that's the stuff that I absolutely love. I am really proud of the technical side as well, because sometimes, it's like I'm doing a bit of sound operating, and then I'm doing the cinematography, and then I'm editing it, and it's sort of, it's given me, experience in each sector, which means that, I've got an appreciation for each role. But it's definitely scary, the technical side, because that, in order to, tell the story successfully, each component has to be at its core working. And I know sometimes that's what I've got to make sure of at all times. But I think, getting a budget and being able to pay a crew, and scout a cinematographer and go, wow, I really love your work, and talking to them and thinking about, right, how would you approach it? Do you know what I mean? All that stuff. Mm-hmm. That is absolutely the dream. And I think Craven's a really good example of, it was the first time that I'd had a crew as big as that. So, I had Kirk, who also did the score. First of all, having conversations with him about the score. God, that was, for hours, sat in spoons going, you want to do a cello? Wow, yeah, what would that sound like? And so him playing me pieces, and I'm like, oh my God, that's going to sound so great. And
How
then
big was the crew then, just so we can gauge what
so
the
it
crew is?
was we had Kirk on sound, Tom was on camera. Also had another gentleman called Lewis. He was also on sound. Then we had Emma, who was on makeup standby for the little, the punch marks and the little cuts and all that stuff, which is fantastic work. Karen Richardson, who was, script editing and sort of producing a little bit. Also my mum, so incredibly supportive family.
Yeah, always.
And then the actors as well, who also, I absolutely love to work with people, obviously, who are as passionate as I am, because the actors, when they weren't in frame, they're holding a light, you know what I mean? And they're holding a black sheet to get the shadows out. And, it was just such a joy making that film. And, there was absolutely a bit of pressure there because, yes, I was used to directing people and I was used to shooting scenes, but I think managing a crew and having that moment of realizing that everyone is here for me, and having the awareness of no one else is getting paid here. But because, we're all passionate, again, it doesn't feel like work. It's something that we want to take the time to do and that we're all proud of. And that's why when we won the award, it was it's shared with everyone who worked on the film, but especially in that moment with Simon there. And it was so, I was so proud when people were coming over to him going, what a performance, and it is a fantastic performance. But
so Simon was one of the leads who plays, I think everyone should go to your YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll do that at the end. But please put the film up, because Simon, who probably feels in his early 20s, young theatre actor, it was his first time, I think it was his first time performing drama, camera, location.
Yeah.
And honestly, all the subtle things, absolutely nailed it.
Absolutely.
And then you were sucked in, you were drawn in. And a lot of times with student films, actors are acting and you can see that they're acting. Whereas the best films, it's like it's a documentary and you're watching people just being.
Yeah.
And that's what he had, both, like all the actors, amazing, but just specifically for the emotions that you had to work through with Simon, just hats off to you. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I mean, he has so little dialogue in the film. So his expressions, his eyes have to say everything. I knew I wanted to work with him straight away, and I knew that he would be perfect for this project and for, my first project being as big as that one was, and the biggest that I'd made so far. And the conversations were so easy to have, because again, I remember talking to you on the day, but he just understood the source material, he understood the script, and understood the character. And I think, that battle. Watching it on the big screen. I was talking about it with my dad, but it was like seeing it for the first time again. And even though that I'd spent hours watching it over and over and over and over and over on a computer screen, it was a fresh experience, which is something that I'd recommend anyone to submit to the Graddies, because the chance to see it on that level. I was talking about it with Kirk, the guy who did the score yesterday, and he's so gutted that he wasn't able to come. I was like, mate, I could hear the cello buzzing at my feet, and he was like, no, don't tell me, don't tell me. And especially because it's some of the shots, it's shot quite intimately. On purpose. Sometimes it's really tight. I wasn't sure how that was going to look, a massive face. But I feel like it played really, really well. And it was such a mind-blowing experience to see that.
Amazing, well done. And then so I'm assuming you're just letting every student know that listens to this, they need to stick their graduation film in. Just to get the experience. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that if you're doing a course over 3 years and you're making films each year, you can't help but get better. You can't help but improve. And I think that the Graddies allows that opportunity to really reflect. I mean, I remember my mum coming up to me and being like, you know, you do realize this is because you just worked so hard.
Yes.
And it was just this moment of like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because it felt sort of outside of myself. I was all so very frazzled, but it was like, no, yeah, this is like an extra celebration of all the work that I've done for the course, because all those films that I made every year had led to this film, you know, the final one that I'd made for the university, for the course. And to me is the best example of my filmmaking. And yeah, what a way to celebrate that. So I would recommend everybody to submit. And not only because, you know, you get the opportunity to win this fantastic award that I can't stop staring at, to be honest. And not only, you know, to see your work on the big screen, but also like the feedback, you know, and the chance to have your film viewed by people that are in the industry and have gone through the same, you know, struggles and bare roots type of work, and understand, you know, what you've gone through and have made it themselves. And you just never know. You just absolutely never know. And yeah, so I'd recommend everybody submit immediately if you haven't already.
Amazing. So now you've graduated. You are now a member of the film industry. You know, however many months in, and we've said about, you know, the dream and becoming a director. And it sounds like long form, so drama, you know, films, that
Yeah.
side of life. But the duality of the question, are there any concerns? Are there any fears of the industry that you're coming into, of the timings that you're coming into? Is there anything there that you want to just talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, if you're not afraid, then I think there's something not quite there, because I remember every day on set or every day in the editing room or, you know, at the Graddies, I was terrified, you know, and I am terrified. And it's healthy. It's really healthy to feel that way, because it shows, you know, deep down how much you care, how much you want to succeed. And it's another example of that passion. So yeah, I'm absolutely always terrified. But I think more specifically, I think maybe the fear is not necessarily not quote unquote making it, because again, as you know, as we've been speaking about, that passion, you know, sometimes that's enough and it carries you through. You know what I mean? If I never make it to the Oscars, then, you know, that dream won't be achieved. But if I'm able in my life to continue making films and show those films and work with other creatives to make those films, that is the dream. And you know, no matter what level. So I think the fear would be losing that opportunity. I think that's what the fear would be. And I think also being in a position where I don't have the freedom to make the sort of things that I want to make. I mean, we're seeing a whole thing at the minute with, you know, some films getting censored, and censored for all the wrong reasons. And I think that was something that I was really proud of, as I've mentioned before. But this film is tackling something that, you know, is beyond yourself, and you know, is a topic that's extremely serious. And being able to, you know, prove myself, excuse me, with the films that I've made, to show that there is a maturity there and there is a responsibility there, and that you're able to make something. There was a young lady who came over to me who has just got into college now, I believe, who's doing film. And she came over and was like, just want to let you know that the way that you handled that and the way that the film portrayed violence, and specifically violence against women, was fantastic. And again, that was another like, oh, do you know what I mean? And sometimes you forget that you're making something that's about something. You know, a film should always be about, you know, should be able to say one word, what is that about? And again, once it's out there, it is beyond you, and people are either going to attach themselves to it or not. And if they do attach themselves to it and they do relate to it, or there's something in there that you know affects them, then you know you've given someone their own experience, and you can't take that away. You know, they're going to have their own feeling, and what an honor for a young woman to come over and say that to me. Because then all I did was quiz her. So that was all okay, and that was handled okay. And how did you feel about this? And she was just, I mean, we was there for about half an hour, just ranting away. But yeah, I think yeah, the fear is the freedom of not being able to make the films that I want to make, or talk about the topics that I want to talk about, yeah, with other people that also want to tell those stories.
Amazing, dude, amazing. I think you've given yourself an amazing chance here. So, ladies and gents, if anyone is looking to give someone the chance to become the director that we all know he is bound and destined to become, just reach out to him on the Instas that we're just about to get to. And there's normally two questions that we end the ep with, but I want to add a third one on. And the third one that I'd want to start with is, do you have a question? And I know it's a bit weird to kind of say to the future you, but that director who is writing and directing their own piece, have you got a burning question that you would want me to ask them? So the next director I get on that's writing films and making scripts, I'll ask them that question. And then the last two that we'll finish on will be your advice to younger self, and then the floor will then be yours to shout out your Instas, you know, anyone that you want to say thanks to. So let's start off with, have you got a question then to the person that is doing the job that you dream about?
Yeah, what a good question. I think to, you know, writer directors out there who are immensely successful, you know, in general life, but also at the craft that they do, I think the first thing would be, that I'd ask is, how do you keep yourself grounded? And I think the reason why I asked that is because I did a mini interview recently for the Leeds Trinity alumni. They've invited me to come back and talk about, you know, basically the films that I've done, and you know, yes, I've only just graduated, but you know, like the Graddies, there's still stuff that's you know cropping up in terms of success. He asked me a question just sort of out of nowhere and said, when you're talking to people or talking about the films or anything like that, there's a certain confidence that you've got that comes through, but you also seem really sort of humble, or you've got a great sense of humility. And again, hearing that is sort of like cringe, because as I always do when there's any sort of compliment that's thrown my way, I'm trying to sort of, you know, dodge it. But I didn't really know how to answer, because I'd never perceived myself in either of those ways. And I think that's something that I'd really like to keep with me, because, you know, if I really hope that if things keep progressing as they are, and I'm working at a level where I'm getting better and better and better, and hopefully the opportunities are coming and coming. You know, if you know, I get to the stage where, you know, we're at the highest esteemed of awards, and something that I make gets an award like we did at the Graddies, I just hope that feeling's still there of like, do you know what I mean? The complete, and maybe that's another fear that it won't be, because you know, you see those Oscar acceptance speeches all the time, and they're always like, you know, and then you see Christopher Nolan, he's just like that, and just sort of walks up, and he's just cool as a cat. So I think that would be my question to them. How do you keep yourself grounded? Because I was overwhelmed with the responsibility of directing 10 people let alone providing jobs and work for hundreds, thousands. So yeah, that would absolutely be my question to them.
Amazing. Great question. And I have my take on it, but I think I'd rather that person that is listening to this, I don't want to give an answer because then it'll take away the opportunity for them to get in touch and speak to you. So I'm going to leave that out there. That's a beautiful question. And now we get to the last two questions of the app, as always. So firstly, your advice to your younger self. Now, when that is, it's your call when you're talking to yourself in your head, whether that's you at the beginning of uni, whether that's you GCSEs that's messing up to not get your A levels to da 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 da. You pick whoever it is that you're talking to, and then just fire some advice to them.
I think beyond the sort of cliched, don't give up. I think it would be creatively trust yourself, because I think to be honest, even now you write something or you start to shoot something and you always have that doubt of like, is this any good? Is this going to be perceived as something completely ridiculous? And maybe so, but being creative and having ideas is something that's just so organic and you can't force it. And I think, or it shouldn't be forced. And I think as I've gone on my way, I think that's what I've tried to do, is just sort of trust myself. Listen to those who know at every single opportunity and bow down to them and learn. But yeah, my goodness, when you're writing something or making something, I mean, even when I was 17 and just borrowing my friend's camera and shooting in my other friend's back garden, and going, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing here. Fine, that's great. You're allowed to not know what you're doing. That's fine. And just trust yourself and shoot it and put it out there and learn and continue being passionate is absolutely what I'd say.
Love that. All right, cool. So how do people find you? What are your handles? And then I also, once you've done that, I wheel this little chair away and I could become a very small head because I just want you to then have the floor to thank whoever you want to thank and acceptance speech time of whoever you want to say thank you to. So the floor is yours. What do you want to say?
Well, I think first of all I'll say Elian Beaumont on everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, that is just my name and that's the handle for absolutely everything. So please, anybody, check out what I've made and provide some feedback. I would absolutely love to know what you think. That's sometimes the challenge when you make something that is hard to receive feedback from, whether people are too squeamish to, or I'm not sure, but it's always again, that's what an honor was with the Graddies, was hearing some articulate feedback. It's like, oh wow. And I think in terms of thanks, I mean, absolutely everybody who has helped me in every single film that I've made, whether that's as I said, friends and all of the crew, and especially the creative department at Leeds Trinity, who championed me and rooted for me at every single stage. It's been really overwhelming, but I think mainly who I'd want to thank is my parents, because someone came over to us after I'd won the award at the Graddies, and came straight to my mum and asked very directly, said very directly, you know what, so amazing that you're here and that you're supporting him. And my mum was like, well, yeah, of course I am. It's like, well, as you know, film or being a creative in general, it's not always a guaranteed wage. And to have their son turn around and say, I want to be a filmmaker, or I want to work in film, or watching Jaws for the 20th time and going, I want to make that. You know, they never once turned around and said, you know, maybe we should think about something more serious or more guaranteed or more sustainable. And they've again also championed me at every single stage and supported absolutely thing, you know. And we, you know, I play them the film, and it's like they're the critics, and I'm going, well, how do we fit? Do you know what I mean? It's been and again, my mum being on set. You know, my dad is in the film technically. You know, his voice at the end, his voice bellowing out on a cinema
Where
screen.
to, mate? Where
Yeah,
to?
yeah. It took a lot of direction to get that right. Yeah, I absolutely adore both of them, and yeah, couldn't have done any of it without them.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, the Film Gods Next Generation podcast episode that I know no matter where you are on your journey, you would have gotten something out of it. I honestly, it was like speaking to a 30-year veteran when you're talking about what you do, why you do it, why you love it. And my takeaway is your awareness. Yes, the dedication, yes, the consistency, all of that leads to success. But your awareness in yourself and your career and that awareness to ask tough questions of yourself, because not a lot of people are going to go, how do I stay humble? How do I stay how I am as and when things get bigger? You know that things are coming. And that awareness and that self-awareness to just keep asking tough questions about yourself and about what you do, I think will hold you in very, very good stead, dude. Very good stead. And, you know, from me, you see people that have come from nothing, become something, and they have conflated their net worth with their self-worth. They've conflated the respect that they get through the role to then thinking that's who they are. And actually, the role is why you can walk on set as a director and everyone will listen to you. They may not like you, but they are being paid to listen to you. But then there are directors who understand that it's them as a human being, them as a person. The title can fuck itself. The title can go and get dissolved and all the rest of it. And people will still listen to what you're asking them to because of who you are and how you treat them and how you treat what you do in that creative process. So thank you so much for coming on and giving me your time. Honestly, I am so excited to watch your journey over the next 10 years and hashtag BAFTAs 2034. You know, that it's like they've got something coming. And I think, you know, you're honing your skills. And as you know, it was just lovely to hear you, like, you know, big crew, and it was like under 10 people. And you're right. You are going to get onto a film set that has got at least 30, minimum 30, start getting into the 40s, the 50s. And at that point, I say relinquishing control in a vague way, but to get the most out of your crew from an AD's perspective, you're relinquishing of the technicalities to me, or the role of the AD, and the camera movements to the DP and the lighting to the gaffer. So having that relinquishing of doing it yourself. I don't want to see a director holding up a lamp. I don't want you doing that. I don't want you, you know, going off and making the lunches. I don't want you doing that because there comes a point that there's so much logistically to do. Your head, for me, again, this is just me. It's my opinion as an AD. I like the directors that are, yes, have a sense of time. You know, you can't spend all morning shooting the same shot because it's, you know, the intonation on the F of the third word in that fifth paragraph wasn't right, because yes, we do need to make the day. But being able to have that trust in your crew, and letting them shine has always been something that I've seen from directors that get the most out of people. And I think that's, again, something that I hear from you is all that time in prep, that's where you get to hone what happens on set. So that prep time that you put into, and those, as you call it, the spoons,
Yeah.
you go Weatherspoons with your celloist, all of that time there is the time that then you have as much of the control on set that happens. Because once you get on set, lamps break, cameras break, artists don't turn up, things happen,
Yeah.
and that calmness that you have just through this, I can see that you got a calmness. That and your awareness, dude, it's unstoppable because you don't want to get on set and start panicking. You're gonna feel excited. There's gonna be butterflies. That first time that you walk onto a fucking massive set, and there are huge sets with big lights and people with experience of 20, 30 years. What you've said, it doesn't sound like you're going to be the kind of person that's going to walk on and go, I know it all. And I think that's where people can kind of come a cropper, because you kind of come on with the, I don't need to know anything. And actually your DP and your gaffer and your grips and your camera team, all of their experience, they've been in so many trenches that they'll be able to help you, and they will help you because you respect them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look, just thank you so much for your time. I honestly, I cannot wait to just see your career moving forward. And so just, it's Elian. Actually, do you know what? I'll put it in the show notes down the bottom so people can link it.
Okay,
Let's give him a nice big Film God podcast round of applause. Play the music.
So that was a chat with the king or queen in the game. I'll give it a shout at the end so you all know the name. It's the Film Gods Podcast. The what? The Film God Podcast.